You're listening to Little Green Cheese, episode 63. Well, welcome back, Curd Nerds. I'm Gavin Weber, and this podcast is where you can learn about cheese making at home. Well, over the weekend, I had a great cheese making course that I taught to 4 new curd nerds. I taught Colin, Sue, Andrew, and Sue. We had a great time, and they all learnt how to make paneer, quick mozzarella, and whole milk ricotta. Yeah, that's right, whole milk ricotta. So that was a good time. And today, I managed to squeeze in a quick cheese that I'd never made before. And it was, let me see if I can pronounce this correctly, cotija. So cotija. Yeah, I think I've said it right. It's a Mexican cheese, and it's supposed to be a cross between feta and parmesan. So let's see how that turns out. And there should be a video coming out for that one on Saturday. So that'll be good fun. So let's get on with the questions, and this week's questions are from Ask the Cheese Man 14. Well, g'day, curd nerds. I'm Gavin Weber, and welcome to Ask the Cheese Man, where I sit here in the chair of cheesy wisdom and answer all of your home cheese-making questions. Well, St. Rain asks about Pasta Filata cheeses, specifically Asadero. Now, I don't know if it's a man or a woman. Anyway, they ask, citric acid helps stretch. Mozzarella won't stretch with calcium chloride. Why does this cheese stretch? Well, the starter culture that I added to the Asadero creates acidity by converting the lactose in the milk into lactic acid. So when the pH of the curd reaches between 5.2 and 5.8, a pH of that, it has a natural tendency to become stretchy when it's heated to 70 to 75 degrees Celsius. Therefore, you can then begin to stretch it like a proper Pasta Filata cheese, which it has become. So all Pasta Filata cheeses have this tendency. So basically, all you have to do is get the pH of your curd down to that range, 5.2 to 4.8, and stretch it at that temperature, and you have a Pasta Filata cheese, just like the Asadero that I made. Anyway, thanks for your question, St. Rain. So the next question is from Bernard Smith. I think it's an extra from a couple of episodes ago. A question about your cheese press. You use a compression spring? Okay. But as the whey is expelled, the height of the cheese wheel will drop. Doesn't that mean that if you start with, say, 5 kilograms of pressure, without constant adjusting, the actual pressure after a short while will be significantly less? Why is that not a problem? And perhaps a better question is, why is it not better to simply add more weights to the press? Would that not maintain the consistency of pressure, wouldn't it? Thanks. Well, Bernard, yes, that's a damn good observation. I do, as I've mentioned before, have to repeatedly tighten the press. Not a lot, but every so often. I just pop in to the kitchen from what I'm doing, usually editing a YouTube video, and retighten the spring. It's not very often, but I do have to do it. There's no right or wrong way, as I've mentioned before, on how to press your cheese. Yes, you can set up a wonderful invention on adding weights, gym weights to your cheese if you like. I find that balancing gym weights on top of your cheese may lead to accidents and disasters. I can imagine putting 22 kilos of gym weights on top of your cheese. I know a lot of people do it, and, that's fine. fantastic, but I certainly am not. I think a little dainty spring works fantastically for me. Each to their own. A lot of commercial cheesemakers have whopping great big hydraulic presses that they use, and they rack up lots of cheeses, and they stack them together, and they stack them horizontally, and they put a hydraulic press, and they just press them that way. That's the easy way to do it. Home cheesemakers tend to do it all vertically, whereas commercial presses are all doing them sideways, all horizontally. Anyway, yes, as I said, good observation. Each to their own. You can do anything you like as long as the desired outcome is your final pressed cheese. The next question is from Greg from Manitoba in Canada. Greg says, "Hey Gavin, thanks for making these videos. They're what has inspired me to start making cheese at home. I'm only on my second batch so far. I started with Monterey Jack, which turned out more like a feta, but for my first attempt, I'll take it. And now I have a confili ripening as we speak. Last night, I tried to make paneer. I used 3.25% buttermilk, slowly raised the temperature to 100 degrees Celsius, removed from the heat, added plain Greek yogurt, and then the lemon juice, and then nothing. The milk did not curdle. What could I have done wrong? I've had similar problems when I've tried to make ricotta too. If I had any hair, I'd be pulling it out. Greg." Okay, so sorry about your hair there, Greg. The first question I sent back, this was an email exchange we had for a little while, was what type of milk did you try and use to make the paneer? Is it whole cow's milk? Can you send me a picture of the carton or a link to the milk? Because he mentioned buttermilk. I wasn't sure whether he meant real milk, or I know there's buttermilk on the market. Anyway, so Greg sent me back the picture. It was definitely buttermilk. So I replied back, "Greg, I found your issue. You cannot make cheese from just buttermilk. It has already been cultured, and it is made from milk. However, you can use buttermilk as a mesophilic starter culture for other cheeses, and you can inoculate the milk using buttermilk when making semi-hard cheeses, but you need a fair bit of it. What you do need to use is to grab some either organic milk or some regular milk, and I sent him some links from the same page that he sent me, so he had some milk he could work with over there. Anyway, I got a fantastic email back. So the email said, and he said, very excited, he said, "Thanks so much. I used regular 3.25 whole milk yesterday, and it turned out." And he sent some pictures. So here's the picture of the paneer that he made. And here's the picture of the curry that he put it in. And Greg says, "Thanks again." No, thanks, Greg. It's really good seeing these follow-up pictures. They really make my mouth water. Very yummy. The patron of the week is Sam Meadows. Thanks for your support, Sam. If you'd like to support the channel so I can make new and interesting cheeses and cheese-related content, then please support me via Patreon. Now, you can do that by going to littlegreencheese.com/support. You can pledge your support monthly so that I can keep creating these cheese-making resources in the form of podcasts and cheese-making video tutorials. And these Q&A sessions, the Ask the Cheeseman Q&A sessions. Anyway, we've got a couple of voicemails this week, so let's get stuck into those. So the first voicemail this week is from Peter, and I'll just play that.
Hello Gavin, sorry, this is Peter Brown from Guernsey in the UK. I wonder if it's possible to substitute Thermophilic culture if the recipe advises using Mesophilic culture. I've just run out of Mesophilic culture, but lots of Thermophilic culture, and I'm wondering if it would work out the same if I were to use the Thermophilic instead of the Mesophilic. I wonder if you could advise. Thanks for all your videos. They're a great inspiration. Thank you.
Now, I've also got a question from Heidi. Now, just humour me and let me play this one as well.
Hi, Gavin. Heidi from Michigan. Tonight I was making Monterey Jack cheese and discovered that I only had thermophilic culture and not mesophilic culture. So we're going ahead and adding the thermophilic and just wondering if that was an okay move and what we might end up with. Thank you.
Well, thank you to Peter and Heidi for almost the same question. It's uncanny from different parts of the world. So, Peter from the UK, oh, sorry, shouldn't say that. It's the Guernsey Islands, and and Heidi from the US. Now, to answer your question, I never tried it myself. However, let me go through the science for you. So, mesophilic cultures have an optimum temperature of 30 degrees Celsius, which is 86 Fahrenheit, and they have a working range of 20 degrees Celsius to 39 degrees Celsius, which is 68 Fahrenheit to 102 Fahrenheit. So that's a pretty big working range before they start to die off and go inactive in the milk. So that's how hot you can, or how cold to how hot you can take the milk before the mesophilic culture dies off. Now, that's not your question, obviously. So the question is around thermophilic cultures. So thermophilic cultures have an optimum temperature where they convert the lactose into lactic bacteria of 42 Celsius to 44 Celsius, which is 108 Fahrenheit to 112 Fahrenheit. So that's its optimum working temperature. Now it has a range though. So it has a range between 30 Celsius and 50 Celsius, which is 86 Fahrenheit to 122 Fahrenheit. So if your cheeses, and I'm just thinking for Heidi's question around the Monterey Jack, I'm pretty sure that Monterey Jack, and I'll just have a quick look for that recipe. So Monterey Jack has a starting temperature of 32 degrees Celsius. So not the optimum temperature range for thermophilic, but certainly within the working range. So you will get some acid creation, and hopefully the cheese worked, Heidi. You didn't say it didn't. That's a double negative, I know, but it happens. So obviously the curd set. So the curd must have set because there was enough acid in the cheese. So you must have worked out. The acid will continue to develop over the course of maturation. So I think you've created a cheese. Now, whether it's a Monterey Jack or not is a different story. How much acid will be created during maturation, how much is slowed down during maturation because of the salt you've added to it, who knows? We'll see. Let us know. That'd be great if you could. Peter, for your question, you didn't say what sort of cheese you were going to make. Just make sure that if you are going to make any cheeses that require mesophilic culture, make sure the temperature's above 30 degrees Celsius, the starting temperature, preferably a little bit higher. Just choose recipes that are above 30, preferably 32. But best of all, mesophilic culture is used for cheeses that state that they need mesophilic. So best to use them, or just start making some cheeses that require thermophilic cultures. They have different tastes, they have different properties, so they will have different flavors and textures, so that you will not get the cheese that you're trying to make. So you will have a variation on what you're trying to make. It will not turn out exactly the same because you've changed something. And that'll be the culture, because it won't create as much acid or convert as much lactose as it would have at the temperature that is premium for your culture. So that's what would happen. There's not much more I can say about that, I suppose, but that's what would go down. Anyway, thank you to both of you for sending in your question, even though it was the same one, basically. Now I think we've got time for an email question. I'll just bring one up. This one's from Adam, and Adam's from Warwickshire in the United Kingdom. And Adam says, "G'day, Gavin." Well, g'day to you, Adam. He just wanted to say I really enjoyed your videos and podcasts. I'm new to cheese making, so your advice has been invaluable. I do, however, have 2 questions. When you use a brine solution or salt outside of a cheese, does it have to be non-iodized salt, or will any salt do? All right, we'll answer that one first. Yes, it does have to be non-iodized salt, because if you use iodized salt, it will kill the bacteria, the lactic bacteria in the cheese, because the salt gets absorbed into the cheese. The bacteria are alive within the cheese, and iodine has a tendency to kill any bacteria. That's why people dab iodine onto their skin when they have a wound. So, yeah, it kills all the bacteria. So, yeah, if you use iodized salt in your brine solution, the salt will get, and the iodine will get absorbed into the cheese, and you won't have any lactic activity during your cheese maturation. So you won't have the flavours that you're after by the time your cheese matures, or in this case, it won't mature. So hopefully that's answered that question. All right, so the second question from Adam is, and you use direct set mesophilic culture in many of your cheeses. I only have a mother mesophilic culture. What would the equivalent dose of my mother culture be to match your direct set culture? Many thanks, Gavin. Adam from Alchester, Warwickshire, United Kingdom. Well, thanks, Adam. I'll answer that second question. Now, I've been digging around, and the best reference I can find for this is in Ricky Carroll's Home Cheese Making Recipes for 75 Homemade Cheeses. It's quite an old book now, but she does actually lay out recipes on how to make mother cultures for Mesophilic and mother cultures for Thermophilic, but that is actually using mother culture powders to start off. Now, for most of the 8-litre sorts of cheeses that I was using, and probably now for the 10-litre ones, most of the doses I was using for Mesophilic was 1/8 of a teaspoon. So 1/8 of a teaspoon of Mesophilic direct set culture, it looks like she is using about 4 ounces of mother culture, which the way she uses it is 4 1-ounce ice blocks of mother culture. The routine she uses, she puts them into an ice tray and then you freeze them and then put them into a bag, and then you can use them anytime you like. So in metric, that's 113.4 grams of mother culture. So I hope that helps, Adam, and that'll get you on your way to making some of those yummy cheeses that I show in those videos. Oh, there's that pesky cow again. That's all the cheesy questions we've got time for, folks. We've got more cheese making workshops coming up in May. I've got new cheese making dates up on my website. I think it's the 6th and the 7th of May. I've got 2 days, a Saturday and a Sunday, both beginners courses. I'm working on a more advanced one. I'm trying to figure out what cheeses to make and how to fit them all in the course of a single day. I don't know if it's possible. Might have to be over 2 days, but I'm trying to figure that out. Anyway, you can also pop over to littlegreencheese.com to find my cheese making ebook, Keep Calm and Make Cheese, A Beginner's Guide to Cheese Making at Home. That's available in PDF format. You can also find all of my YouTube video tutorials over at cheeseman.tv. Thanks for listening, curd nerds, and stay tuned for the next exciting episode of the Little Green Cheese Podcast. During this podcast, you heard royalty-free music by Kevin MacLeod. I played Malt Shop Bop and Call to the Dairy Cows. See you later.